Welcome to this week in Magic the Gathering. We've got a few things to talk about and a few bugs that I want to bring up for Arena. So I'm your host, Cinder Shadow, and first thing this week, we have the Player of the Year playoff. They had to submit 4 deck lists each. They ended up having to play each deck against each other in best of 1 matches, and whoever won the most after the end, so best to, I believe it would be 3, whoever gets to 3 wins or 4 wins, became Player of the Year. So the deck lists, to me, were a little underwhelming for what we've seen in the meta right now, and you should expect this with the Pro Tour this weekend, very similar deck lists to come out. The first one from Seth Manfield, being one of the people in the playoffs, was his Boros Weenie deck. A mixture of knights and vampires, and some life gain. One of my favorite cards right now from M19 being Heroic Reinforcements, giving haste to all your creatures, +1/+1, and 2 white soldiers. It's a force to be reckoned with for sure. Conclave of the Tribunal, History of Benalia, once again is in there, and Legion's Landing. His second deck he submitted was Mono Blue Tempo, which, with the Mono Blue Tempo that we've seen, you've got the Djinns, you've got the Storm Tamers, the Inclusion Mage, Dive Down being the only real hexproof card out there right now, because we lost Blossoming Defense in green, with a few counters, and the Curious Obsession, and Charter Course being the majority of that makeup. His third deck was a mono red aggro, which I'm running a very similar deck in Arena currently. Everyone's seen this deck before. It's got the 4 Chain Whirlers, the Steamkins, the 2 Lava Coils, Experimental Frenzy, and so on. And then there's Izzet Drakes, running the Arc-like Phoenix, Crackling Enigma Drakes, the Goblin Electromancers, and a whole whack of spells. So this was everything that Seth brought to the table. Now all these decks had no sideboards left to them. Luis Salvato also came up with a white weenie deck. I do like his a little bit better overall. It's got more of a life gain feel and more of a stompy sort of feel to it, with the Marshals and the Bodyguard, and a little bit the Pride of the Conquerors, so it's a little bit more aggro-y, I think. And then once again, 4 Conclaves, History of Benalia, and 3 Legion Landing, which is the same thing that was in the white weenie. Mono red aggro once again, but the only difference here is he's put in Rekindling Phoenix and 4 Frenzies. So once again, it's not really much of a difference. Another Mono Blue Tempo take, just without the Mage. I know the Merfolk Trickster has been a bane for me in particular, and the Warkite Marauder is a very nice addition in there. Sleep is also very good. And his 4th deck that he put out there was the Jeskai Control deck. This makes your games long, drawn out. It's much for the Esper control that we saw before the rotation, and now the controls just switched from the black to a red. And Nim Mizzet being an actual powerhouse, more so than what I thought he would be, being 3 blue, 3 red. He is being played around the board. Anywhere that you can throw this in, people are playing him. Him not being able to be countered, being a 5/5, and every time you draw a card dealing 1 point of damage, every time a player, not just you, casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. So if you can get into a Storm sort of count, this guy just destroys people. So I'm not surprised to see this Jeskai Control. I'm surprised that it wasn't on both sides of the board. Anyway, I didn't really watch it. I just know Luis Salvato actually took down the tournament and became Player of the Year with the playoffs. So that was the competitive side of things that happened there with everything. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up, there was a announcement today, I believe. They're saying major competitive Magic gaming announcement December 6th. This is posted today, November 9th, 2018. We do love announcing our announcements, but we should pay special attention to this one. All fall, we've been offering small glimpses into the future of competitive Magic gaming, and we know you have questions. On December 6th at the Game Awards, I don't even know what the Game Awards are, and on this website, you'll get answers. So we ask for just a little bit more patience with us. It'll be worth the wait. Really? So you give an announcement to tune into this for a big announcement. This is probably their entry into the competitive esports ring with Tencent backing them up. So I've talked about Tencent before. They deal with a lot of the esports genre and Hearthstone and stuff like that. So more to come on that. There's also the Pro Tour that's this weekend, and we've got the metagame breakdown. Today being day one, we don't have a real look at what's going to place yet. I'll just shrink me down a little bit so we can see it all. We can see most people are playing a Gagari mid-range deck, being 113 decks in total at the Gagari mid-range, all the way down to 5 total decks of Esper Control. So there's a nice wide range that's here. The Gagari mid-range, I do expect something to come out of it, but I don't think it'll be Gagari so much as Explorer. I know running into the Explorer deck that I've seen in Arena, it's nothing but trouble. You got to take down the walkers right away, and it just becomes an issue. And you got red-white aggro. Is it Drake's, which we know is going to be their mono-red aggro. Jeskai Control. 36 people are playing Jeskai Control. And I gotta say, those gotta be nightmare matches with that. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see either a Jeskai Control or an Is It Drake's. Really, the field's open, but you're gonna see something with red probably take it down, if not black-green. The mono blue tempo I don't think is enough. The Selesnya tokens, once again, not really enough. Dimir Control is pretty good, but it's more good in the draft format because when you're doing the draft with Guilds of Ravnica, it just seems that nothing can really stand up to the Dimir Control other than a little bit of Boros. Turbo Fog, you're not going to see that do much other than it being the Nexus of Fate, problematic card. Grixis Control, so there's a little bit with the Nicol Bolas deck, and it's going to be interesting to see that deck when all of this is said and done, so I can get ideas on what to do with the Nicol Bolases that I have. And a White Weenie. You know, White Weenie's always going to be around. I do like the Boros with the White Weenie a lot better, though. The other thing going on, Gary Thompson tweeted out about the Pro Tour. It's a small thing, but shirts and water bottles they used to give away are now something you must pay for. Disappointing, especially after last Pro Tour, where we each got a foil set. They got a foil set of cards. Now, when a company scales back shirts and water bottles, these free things, that is, to me, everything I've seen in the past with companies, that is a scale back of money, and it's showing that the health of money going into Wizards of the Coast is being scaled back. Hasbro has been cutting back on them. You're seeing the card quality diminish, and now you're seeing them take away these little tiny things that they think is going to make a lot of detail and a lot of things in the end better, but It's not. The health of the game only depends on the way our wallets open up for them, and you can see it with the new Master Set that is coming out this weekend, or not this weekend, but next month, and a week away from the full spoilers for that. You can see it was a rush product. They shelved it, then they rushed out the box toppers, and you can see they're pulling at strings to figure out this new code on the marketplace on where can they make the most money and where do they have to scale back. And I think taking away shirts and water bottles for something that people have worked hard to get to and have sacrificed a lot, I think is a little bit of a kick in the face for these guys. I know they get airfare paid for, but then they've got to pay for their hotel. They've got to pay for time to actually sit there and do the deck building, play the decks. So much more they have to do and spend of their own money that airfare is only a drop in the bucket for what these guys should be making. So, as much as the Pro Tour isn't sustainable at this point, by them taking away the shirts and water bottles from the pros, it's showing that it's really not going to be there in the long run. But I think that's something to do also with the announcement that they're going to have on December 6th. You're going to see a lot of changes, I think, towards the Pro Tour and the way Magic is played on the sports competitive level. So the next thing this week I want to go over is some bugginess that I've discovered with Arena. I know I made a support ticket for this. In particular, it's with Beacon Bolt and Crackling Drake also. I've shot a little bit of video here, which I'm going to throw up, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and filmed a little bit of gameplay here. As you can see, I've got a Beacon Bolt, a couple Beacon Bolts, one showing 3, the other one showing 5 for cards in my graveyard. I keep switching between the two there. So you can see it's saying 5. Hit play here, and then 3. 5, 3. This is the same card in my hand. Same thing. And it does proper damage now. Now, I first discovered this problem when a few days ago I was playing Beacon Bolt, and it said that I had 2 in the graveyard when it was in my hand, and I was going up, I think it was an Arc-like Phoenix, and so I was like, oh, I can take it down with the Beacon Bolt, because thinking I had 2 damage on board, when in fact I only had 1. So I cast it, and it only does 1 damage, and I'm sitting there going, well, what's going on here? Then I looked in my graveyard, and all I had was 1 card. First off, the Beacon Bolt won't count itself when it's casted, because it's on the stack. But secondly, there's something obviously wrong here, because even later on in this clip, I have a Drake out on the board, and it says that there's 4 when I actually have 7 cards in exile and graveyard. So something is telling the AI of the game it's wrong. So you can see here I've got 5 on the Beacon Bolt, 7 on the Drake, and you sit there and go, well, that should be the exact same number for what's in there. So that's a little bit of a bug that I found. I figured I'd put it into the video here for This Week in Magic, as it's a helpful tip to double check and don't trust the tooltips. And next thing we got going on this week, on the 15th, which is coming up right away in a few days, we have our challenge list finally coming to MTG Arena. So if you've seen me play lots here on the channel, give me a comment down below. Let me know that you want to play against me, and we'll try and set up a time that works. Hopefully when I'm streaming, and we can get the challenge going there. I know possibly in the future there's talk with a few other YouTubers that we may do some stuff, but stay tuned for more details on that. None of it's hashed out yet. It's just talk. The other stuff going on, there wasn't too terribly much. The Pro Tours this weekend, like I said earlier. Tune into the Twitch stream if you want to see that. I don't follow the Pro Tour very closely. I just like to look at the decks because I know it affects the price spikes of cards. Obviously, you can see Arc-like Phoenix is the card of the set right now, and it's one that's gone up, and it'll come back down. It just takes some time. Probably just before the next block is released. And I'll leave you on one last note. The masterpieces. As you can see here, I took a very simple stab at one, just trying to replicate what they're doing there. It's nothing too crazy. I'm actually showing all the art that was on the card here, where on the masterpieces they have shrunk it down a little bit of the art, blown it up and superimposed it on the cards. So those new masterpieces, as much as they look pretty, I honestly don't think they're going to be worth much more than their counterparts at foil price. They're nice. It's a nice idea, but I think it still misses the mark with the masterpieces. If you saw my video earlier this week, I touched on that quite a bit, but I'll leave you with this beautiful Arc-like Phoenix. It's, I've got a thing for Phoenixes, and this is no exception to that rule. It's a very nice card. In Arena, it's got a very nice animation that goes with it. Anyway, this has been your Week in Magic, and thanks for tuning in, and check me out next time. Have a good day.